to read chapter 3 in Pulling Together by Dawn Watkins. The Fire. He was down the stairs before she could stop him. The rain whipped against him, but it was not raining hard anymore. His father was calling to Luke, "I'll get the horses! Get the cows!" The orange light was growing. Half the barnyard wavered in its light. Luke ran out the back of the barn into the pasture. "Yaw, yaw!" The cows bellowed and galloped into the night. Then they suddenly came back. Luke was ready for them. He waved a pitchfork at them. "Get back! Go!" They swung away from him. Their moos were wild and long. John Briggs had both horses by the halters. They came out with him, but they bobbed their heads and snorted. Ben danced out sideways from the man. Lightning lit up the whole farm. Again, in that moment, Matthew saw his father's face. His mouth was drawn with the effort of holding Ben. "Ho, ho!" he said. The calm command filled Matthew with courage. The whole mow was now ablaze. Everything around was washed with red light. "Get back!" Luke hollered at the cows. Their bawling sounded farther away. John Briggs spoke commands to the horses. Matthew hung back a second more and then dashed into the barn. The fire overhead tossed, waving shadows everywhere. Matthew blundered to the wall in front of the horses' stalls. He snatched down the harness and ran to the orchard. He threw down everything and without stopping, charged back into the barn. This time, he grabbed the heavy collars. He half carried, half dragged them through the doors. Suddenly, Luke was there, helping him. "Luke! Matthew! Boys!" John Briggs called. "Here, Papa," said Luke. "Get out, boys!" The two boys ran with the collars and the wooden frames into the orchard. John Briggs said, "Stay away!" In the bright firelight, Matthew saw his father go into the barn again. His heart came into his throat. "Papa?" Bits of burning straw rose in the blackness above the flames. They twisted and flew, then sank into the blaze again. Time ceased to pass. It might have been a minute or an hour that they waited there. Matthew could not tell. Ben and Dolly nickered and snorted. Matthew glanced quickly toward them. His mother stood in the edges of the light. She held the horses by their halters. Her wet hair blew like their manes. Ben pawed at the ground, but Dolly stood quietly. Matthew suddenly realized that it was no longer raining. "Papa!" Luke called out. Matthew and his brother strained to see into the barn. Minutes passed. A groan of timber echoed from the barn. Matthew felt his heart banging against his ribs. He started forward. Luke grabbed his arm. "No," Papa said. Matthew did not resist. His eyes searched the cracks in the walls. He could not see his father. "There!" Luke pointed up to the right. John Briggs was rolling the wagon off the barn floor. He rolled it farther than they could see, even though the fire was strong now and brilliant. Minutes later, he was behind them. He put an arm around each of them and moved them toward Addie and the horses. Their mother was crying. Without a sound, John Briggs took the horses from her and she let him. They all stood together between the house and the barn. Seconds later, part of the roof crashed down and the sparks sprayed up into the heavy air like 1,000,000 fireflies.